Next, on this episode of The Nice Guys on Business.
So for so many people, the only thing they ever learned how to do, the only thing that was modeled to them, so 0 to 7, we imprint, 7 to 14, we start modeling things. Depending on who was around us and what we learned how to do with money, most people only ever learned how to spend money because that's all they ever did with money.
Right.
And so they don't know how to hold on to money. Even if they wanted to, when people who have when they don't feel good about spending versus saving, it's really the difference between an either or. They see their life as an either or. Either I can spend it or save it, but I can't do both. And so all the work that I do with my clients is to help them re-engineer the way that they think about themselves, think about their lives. And we get into a conversation about priorities first. What's a priority? What's most important to you? And I dig into their unconscious value system because their unconscious value system is the thing that's driving the bus financially.
You know, if a leisure suit could talk, it would sound just like the Nice Guys on Business. Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by Turnkey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
All right, nice guy community. Let's have a real conversation about money. Whether you have more month than money or more money than month, the myth that money has power over you, well, it's just that. It's a myth. And today we're going to start the conversation with Lisa Chastain, host of the Real Money podcast, author of Girl, Get Your Shit Together. And guys, don't be afraid of that. Just it's girl in the title, just like it's Nice Guys on Business. It's generic. Girl, get your shit together. May as well say guys, get your shit together. In her business, she leads a team of experts sharing the financial wisdom through money coaching, wealth building, business building, and of course, financial empowerment. Today, the buck starts here. Welcome, Lisa, to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Great to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here. I think you were on another one of my client shows, Wendy Swanson Unleashed, and had a chance to listen to that. Also had a chance to dig into some of your YouTube channel and do a little background research, whatever, I know you're a podcaster too, so you have limited time, but you want to make sure you at least arrive knowledgeable. Mm-hmm. Was money a problem for you growing up and you completely changed course because this was your weakness turned into your strength, or what was it that got you into the money world?
It wasn't a problem until I knew it was a problem.
Okay, tell me. What's that mean? Tell me more.
I grew up my dad was the worker. He's by trade a blue-collared guy, grew up in a blue-collared family. Mom, stay-at-home mom, the women that I had modeled being home. And I was not instilled, there was nothing instilled in me to dream big, think big, go big, live big. And I just kind of followed the script, or what I thought was the script as a young woman, to get a good job. This is exactly what my parents told me. My dad being a member of the union his whole life. Yeah. Get a good job, get health insurance, get married, buy a house. And that's what I did in my 20s. It wasn't until, and we're going to talk about money personalities today, it wasn't until I was going broke. I had blown through my 401k on the verge of divorce, trying to, quote, air quotes, trying to launch a business as a financial advisor, that I had to look at my money mindset, my relationship with money, and face it head on. But I didn't realize I had a problem until I realized I had a problem.
Yeah. And I appreciate you being so open and sharing that. I can remember growing up myself, my dad, always an entrepreneur. He always said to me, Dougie, even if it's never been done before, you can do it. And my mom would always instill in me the importance of having a great credit score and making sure you're putting away money in the bank. And I never had it sounds like almost like the exact opposite relationship with money growing up, in that I had very comfortable conversations about money. And I've always been a saver, always since, college, or even before college, opening up a checking account. Remember just being excited to look at that, 8 cents of interest at the end of the month. And so for me, it was always a good relationship. But you still, when you have that good relationship, you're in a world that doesn't have a good relationship with money for the most part, people you run into. How do you combat that? And how did you overcome that stuff that you were, certainly being broke is a good way to understand, okay, I've hit the bottom, so now I got to figure out a way out of this. What was it that turned your life around and made you understand the importance and the value of money as a tool rather than money as a controlling point in your life?
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah,
And
sorry. I gave you a bunch of stuff. Sorry.
I'm a woman, you're a man, and I'll start there. That men are raised from a very young age to be financial stewards, to be the financial leaders. It's a socialization of men. You're going to get a great job. You're going to be good with money. There was no conversation about that whatsoever to the women in my family. My brother, I have a twin brother. Mm-hmm. He was the one that was getting mentored and pulled aside and having conversations. And for women, we're geared toward in a particular direction. That's changing, by the way. That is changing.
Yeah.
But for my generation and your generation, it just wasn't the case for most households. So it's how we're socialized, number one. Wasn't brought up to think about money at all, ever.
I think about my daughter who is 31 and my son who's 27. And I think about the relationship that I've had with money with them. And I don't draw any line between men and women. And maybe that's just a part of the generation today. It's like important to talk about that because, my daughter unfortunately saddled with about $100,000 in student loan debt. It didn't mean that she had to enter that in oblivious. She entered into that knowing at least that this is going to be what you're facing on the other side of it because of conversations that I had. Is it just a matter of having the right conversations with the right people at the right time in your life to dispel that myth that money has control over you rather than the other way around?
I think it's installed into us one way or the other. In neuroscience, I'm a neurolinguistic programming trainer. And so I take a deep dive into how people psychologically develop. Before the age of 7, we learn how to be in this world and we learn how to be with money. And it's unconsciously installed into us. So if we're grown up, if we're raised in a household that has a healthy relationship with money and healthy conversations around money, it's likely that unconsciously we will also repeat those patterns. But if who's in control, if we are raised in a family where no one's in control of their money, there's spending problems, addiction, or people are just victims to their circumstances, that installs into us too. So at a certain point, which is what I had to do, I had a wake up call in my 30s and I'm like, this is not the life that I want. This is not what I want financially. Now I need to model new behavior and find some mentors and make some big changes. But I was running these unconscious patterns that are really deeply embedded into all of us. So yes, you got to get around healthier people who have healthier relationships with money. And just because someone has money doesn't mean that they have a healthy relationship with money either.
Totally agree with that. I've seen some real assholes that are out there and horrible with their spending, whether they're trust fund babies that just don't know how to manage money. And I've seen plenty of people, especially living in Southern California where money is extremely abundant. I've seen plenty of people that have a lot of money and just don't understand how to manage it. I want to talk about a point fairly quickly because I don't want it to be a point of either contradiction or something that we don't agree about. But one of the things I was reading in some of your notes and doing some of the research is that, and again, feel free, please correct me if I'm just reading it incorrectly. Budgeting is a challenging word because budget requires you to, I feel like some people think that budget equates to control. Like the money has control over you. I kind of look at money and budget as as freedom. I have here's my box, and here's what I'm able to spend in the box. And yes, I can go outside the budget, but now at least I can measure it. So, can you talk to me about budget for just a couple of moments?
There's about 25% of the population that loves budgeting, and you're there.
I'm one of those. Sorry,
I can already tell talking to you. Here's the thing: not everybody works the same. If Fortune 500 companies, they use the DISC profile, neuro-linguistic programming. We have our own ways of looking at how people work. I use the Colby A index, which also speaks into how somebody does something. And there are naturally analytical people who enjoy data and number crunching and enjoy those parameters and are rule followers, for lack of a better term, who will stick to the plan and enjoy that process. And then there's the rest of us, where if you try to fit us into a box, we're going to do everything that we can to break out of the box. Don't tell me what to do. So that's one reason why budgets don't work for everyone. Another reason is that some people genuinely dislike the experience of budgeting And there are more simple ways to manage money.
Yeah.
And so I'm against the conversation of budgeting is the only way, because it truly is not the only way.
Right. I think about growing up, and then as I got into early adulthood, the importance of putting money away, and where I feel like a lot of people maybe miss the mark. And again, I'd love to know your experience, because I'm just a party of one here, and you have a party of, hundreds or thousands of people that you reach every time you share your message. I think about at the end of the month, when the next month is coming, the first person I pay is me. And then everything left over gets to go to the other things in the budget. I feel like the world is almost the exact opposite. It's like I have no leftover money at the end of the month to pay myself, so I guess I'm going to do with less, or being able to accomplish less financially in my life. What's your perspective on where does the person fit into the financial picture?
Well, the person is so going back to our unconscious activity, our brain, 95% of our purchasing decisions are happening in our unconscious mind, based on beliefs that we have, based on emotions that we have. And most people don't know why they do what they do. It's so unconscious. So for so many people, the only thing they ever learned how to do, the only thing that was modeled to them, so 0 to 7, we imprint, 7 to 14, we start modeling things. Depending on who was around us and what we learned how to do with money, most people only ever learned how to spend money, because that's all they ever did with money. Right. And so they don't know how to hold on to money, even if they wanted to. When people who have when they don't feel good about spending versus saving, it's really the difference between an either or. They see their life as an either or. Either I can spend it or save it, but I can't do both. And so all the work that I do with my clients is to help them re-engineer the way that they think about themselves, think about their lives. And we get into a conversation about priorities first. What's a priority? What's most important to you? And I dig into their unconscious value system, because their unconscious value system is the thing that's driving the bus financially.
100%. Yeah, I agree with you. All of those tapes that keep going off in your head that says, all of the things about, no, you really need to put it away. And so that, the relationship with money is challenged because of the relationship that we have early on. And I 100% agree. At a very early age, if you don't see a good model, or you're not given proper information, then you're challenged with it. I think about, if I go into my kitchen, I can go into my cabinet and I can pull out stuff and create a recipe, but I don't want to be a chef. You took this challenge that you had, you not only turned it into one of your superpowers, but then you started teaching others how to do it too. When did you realize that this was the gift, and that without those lessons, you probably wouldn't have been able to share that gift with the world?
It taught me a ton of humility.
Yeah.
A ton of humility, and understanding that struggle is real. I didn't grow up around money. Money was a very awkward conversation for me. Stepping into a high net worth firm around millionaires for the first time in my life, I felt like a fish out of water.
Yeah.
And I realized that there were some things about me that I needed to heal, and things about me that I needed to look at in order to turn the tables financially. And one of those things was that I was subscribing to talking about the money personality test. My parents are both saver personalities, very cheap in the way that they live their lives. My dad taught us over and over again how to play it safe and why we needed to play it safe. But when it comes to business ownership, you got to take a lot of risk.
Yeah, especially as an entrepreneur.
As an entrepreneur, you gotta roll the dice sometimes and see how it works and make mistakes. I naturally learned by making mistakes, but that wasn't seen as a good thing growing up. And so making mistakes was a shameful experience for me. And it wasn't until I was able to reframe that to say, no, taking risks is how I was designed. And when I step into my lane, I create results. So it was compelling enough for me to say, okay, I'm a dreamer, which I know you are too. That's my top money personality. I think big, I dream big, and I go big. So when I let go of that scarcity mindset and fear of safety and security, and learned how to trust myself, I created a 6-figure business in 10 months.
Isn't it amazing that once you embrace what your challenges are, and you can actually see them from a distance looking back, and it's hard to see the forest for the trees. Sometimes you're so stuck in the problem that you can't create the solution from within the problem.
You cannot.
What's somebody's first step if they are Okay, let's talk about two things. One, what is the symptom that they're experiencing before they know, hey, I really need to get some help with this? And secondly, once they experience that, what is the first step in actually coming to resolve and having a better relationship with money?
There are multiple symptoms. The most common would be overwhelm and avoidance, or both.
In purchasing, in making decisions, because it didn't sound like there was money involved in that. Overwhelm in what?
It shows up in not wanting to look at the numbers, not wanting to make sense of the numbers, not looking at your bank app, not tracking your net worth. It's all related to the numbers. They're overwhelmed by the numbers. They don't know what they mean, or they're just avoiding them altogether. And so the first step, actually, to your point, is you cannot solve the problem if you are inside of the problem.
Right.
It is not possible. And so getting help, helping someone pull you out of the problem or see your problem from the outside in, and getting perspective. Because the number one question I get from clients is it that bad? How do I measure up to, is everyone else like chaos like I am? You know, they want to know how they measure up to other people, because these aren't conversations we're having at large.
Isn't it a challenge when somebody says, how do I measure up? It's like, compared to what? You know, you're comparing your beginning to somebody else's middle, and that's a really hard thing to do. And if you're trying to compare yourself in business as a first year entrepreneur to somebody that's been doing it for 5 or 10 years, you're going to look back and say, what the fuck? I will never get there. When in reality, it's like that 5 or 10 year veteran had been through the same shit that you've been through right now, right?
That's exactly it. It's the perspective of, it doesn't really matter what other people are doing. Everybody's going to get to where they're going in their own way, because of how they were raised, because of what they believe, because of what's important to them. All that matters is that you know what you want. A lot of people can't communicate clearly what it is that they want. And that's really where I start. Before we look at numbers, what do you want? What do you really, really want? Okay, where are you at right now? And how are we going to get you there?
All right, let me check in with my Nice Guy community for just a quick second, because I want to tell them about a couple things that you have, and then I want to get back into the conversation with you. But before I had Lisa on Nice Guys, she was, like I said, she was on Unleashed with Wendy Swanson, and I'm listening to that, and then I got addicted to her YouTube channel and checking out all the great guests that she had. So a couple things I want you guys to do, Nice Guy community. Head over to the show notes, where there will be a link for a 90-day boot camp, and we'll explain what this boot camp is, and we'll share a little bit more about that in just a couple of moments. But Lisa has a 90-day financial boot camp that you can participate in. The other thing I want you to do, even before jumping into the boot camp, I want you to take her quiz. If you take her quiz, and I just took it too, it's what's the name of the quiz? Sorry, Lisa, I forgot.
Money personality quiz.
Okay, money personality quiz. And I told Lisa at the beginning, I said, hey, look, I'm a dreamer. And she says, that's no surprise, because I guess that's what you are as well. Yeah. I want you to, Nice Guy community, take Lisa's money quiz. You'll find your money personality, and it will give you a lot of insight to, and it takes 5 minutes. So you'll go through it really quick, and you'll get some great information on the tail end of that immediately. You don't have to wait for anybody to call you or anything like that. Just click the link in the show notes. We'll put both the quiz and the financial boot camp. Which way do you want to go first? You want to talk about the quiz, or you want to talk about the boot camp? What would be better?
Let's talk about
Lisa?
the quiz.
Okay, you start then. Tell me a little bit about the quiz and the origin of this, because it was really great questions. And they weren't always financially related. They were more like, your NLP self was asking those questions. And I felt that as soon as you said NLP, I'm like, oh, I get it now. So talk about the quiz. Okay.
So there's 3 parts of the mind. There's how we think, there's what we feel, and there's how we do things. So there's the IQ, the EQ, and the cognitive parts of our brains. And they're all interacting with each other regularly to help you live and be the whole human that you are. The 5 money personalities, they shed light on where you're operating from. What are your motivations, and what are your feelings when it comes to money? Beliefs plus behaviors equal your bank account. So you've got beliefs going on that are interacting in your brain and your psyche that are then influencing the choices that you're making. And then those are the results that you have. We don't know what we don't know, but the money personality, there are 4 inherently different kinds of people on this planet. There's the givers, the people who wake up in service to other people all day long. These are like the Mother Teresas of the world, the nonprofit owners. They want to make a difference on the planet. Those are our givers. Why they do what they do is totally different from the dreamers who wake up all day long. And typically the dreamers were motivated by success.
Right.
Some kind of success. We think big, dream big. These are people who are very driven toward results. very different than wanting to help people intrinsically.
It's funny though, even the dreamers though, and I'm sure you're like this too, and I know I am. I feel like the only way I can give properly is to be successful. You know, when you're on a plane, put your oxygen mask on first before you put it on somebody else. I feel like the only way I can give of my time and my money is to have more time and money in my life. So why not be as successful as I can possibly be, or beyond that, and then be able to give not only of my money but of my time, because money all the time creates more time in your life. There's no correlation. Sorry, that's a whole different rabbit hole to go down, but there's no correlation between the harder you work and the more success you have in your life. You could work 5 hours a week or no hours a week and still be infinitely wealthy just because you've set your plan in place properly. So there is some connection between being a dreamer and a giver. I don't want you to feel like Nice Guy Community that you can't be a dreamer and still be a giver. Is that fair?
Well, the way I would put it is that you spoke that beautifully as a dreamer. Because as a dreamer, that's your motivation.
That's my justification as to why I want to make more money in my
That's
life.
Right. Make more money, help more people. Beautifully, eloquently put as a dreamer. Givers don't value money in the same way.
Well, but it's really hard to, and again, I'm happy to take pushback here, but it's hard to give when you're broke. You can give of your time, but you can't give any money. You can't. And oftentimes the currency of life, pardon the pun, but the currency of life, the tool that we use to help give is money oftentimes. Now, again, maybe I'm speaking that from a dreamer's perspective and being totally ignorant of all the other stuff that you can do. But okay. All right. I mean, just again, any other conversation about that you want to have?
Yeah, well, I would say again, that's our ideology as dreamers, that we're going to go out and make the biggest impact that we can make. And I do, when I speak into the givers, when I'm in an audience or whatever, and speaking to a giver right now, you take that and you know that you're a giver. Wouldn't it be amazing to have even a bigger impact? But again, motivations are different. Some people will live making $30,000 a year and be totally happy doing that and make a difference, boots on the ground with where they're at. That's a different motivation. And then we have spenders who love to spend money. Mm-hmm. Their only motivation is to be able to spend money and have nice things, which is different from motivation of a dreamer. Most entrepreneurs are the dreamers. Spenders may or may not own businesses, but they just love the rhythm and flow of life. They're very abundant in mindset, and they're the life of the party.
Regardless of whether that money is coming from credit card debt or some high interest rate loans. Oh God, that's just such a bad habit. I mean, sorry, I'm not being judgmental here, but
it's an expensive habit. But there is a way to balance that, and that's what I'm teaching my spenders: is you can give yourself money. So it's like spending rehab. Where what if you could give yourself money to spend and still have money in savings and still have money to pay your bills? Why is it such an either or conversation?
All right. So we got givers, we've got dreamers, we've got spenders. And is there a fourth, you said?
Yeah, there's dreamer, spender, giver. Oh, savers.
Okay.
Savers.
And the savers, I'm assuming, are the people that just keep socking it away in sacrifice of everything else that goes on around them.
Yeah, they're cheap chips. They prefer to, now as an archetype, they don't value things. So spenders and savers are complete opposites of one another. Savers will spend their entire lives in the same pair of shoes, and then they'll champion that. They'll be proud of that. They'll drive a 1980 Winnebago and show it off to friends because they're so proud of the car payment they haven't had for 20 years. Oh my God. Very prudent. Very, and they tend to come from a scarcity mindset. So they hoard their money. So there's goods and bads to every money personality. And of the savers, they don't necessarily have the healthiest relationship with money either.
It's funny you say all of those things because I feel like I'm a pragmatic dreamer. I mean, I because when you said that about the car payment, I'm like, I have a 2011 Toyota Highlander, and I haven't had a payment, in 8 years with the car, or maybe 7 years with the car, and it's like I am proud of that. Now, at the same time, I have a pair of shoes that's in my closet right now that basically has fallen apart. I would never wear those again, but I don't want to throw them away because I'm like, well, maybe I'll resole those shoes. So I feel like to a degree, and I'm like that way with my business. I remember we've been doing this for 8 or 9 years we own a podcast production company. So the production company, we've been doing 8 or 9 years. And we have spent so much fucking money on marketing. And I'm just like, you know what? A couple of years ago, I said, we're going to try it again. And if it doesn't work, we're just going to no more money in marketing. And we probably had spent like, I don't know, $60,000 or $80,000 over the couple of years in marketing. I'm like, it doesn't work for me. I just don't want, and I don't want to spend it. And you know what? Slow and steady wins the race. Is that a contradiction to my dreamer title, or does that fit in okay with that dreamer, or it doesn't really matter?
Usually there's one that is the primary money personality.
Okay.
It sounds like you could have been raised by some saver money personalities or saver mindset and values. Also, naturally, you could just be more analytical and you get the balance between the two. My experience of you is that you have a pretty healthy relationship with money, so you keep it in check.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you'll take calculated risk.
Oh, I definitely will. And I love, the whole game of selling. I love selling, not because I feel like I win, but because I feel like I'm bringing a service to somebody. And at the same time, I'm giving by providing a service that I think has a lot of value, and I am receiving, and that is the money side of me that I feel like is the win in that relationship. But I'm very relationship driven. But it doesn't hurt that there is money involved, which is why I like, the whole game of selling. Even the disappointing side, it's like, that I don't even see that after the no is given to me, I just keep moving on. And I know that's not directly related to money, but it's like, there was a loss there. There was a loss.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't like to lose. Savers don't like to lose.
Well, let's go on to the other thing that we were going to talk about, which is your boot camp. So talk to me about that. Is that something that someone that hasn't sparked a relationship with you already can jump into? How does it work?
Yeah, it's the first step you can take with me. You want to get to know my tools, my systems, and you want my help. All of my materials are available on my website right now. You can jump online, you can grab my courses, you can start work on your mindset. As a trained coach and facilitator, though, to your point, you cannot solve the problem that you are inside of. And also there's such value in working with other people on this journey. So my boot camp is other people working together through these things. And it's a whole lot more fun when you do that. I know when I needed to transform my life, I jumped into a cohort of people, and they're still some of my best friends today. So wherever you're at is okay. Come do the work with other people, learn the tools, learn the systems, get on your way, because life is now. And what would it be like for you to not have to stress about money for the next 30 years or for the rest of your life?
Totally agree. And I also agree with your point about being a part of a community. I know that together all will rise better if we all work together at it. And the level of accountability that you have with any community, especially like-minded community members, even if you're in with a saver or a spender and you're a dreamer, it doesn't matter, because you're all working towards the same resolve at the end, is to learn how to control and manage what's going on in your life. Yeah. Anything that I should be asking you that I'm not asking you, or tell me about your podcast a little bit, because I'm curious about it. It looks like it's on YouTube. Do you also have it on Apple Podcasts and other areas?
All the podcast outlets. I started my podcast for women specifically because what I'm doing, I know all the money shit. Like I can tell you where to invest, how to invest, get a return on investment. I'm trained in all of that. But where I think people really start to transform is when they hear that they're not alone. So I'm bringing very successful people onto my podcast to share their money journey and their money story, because if you're looking on social media, people are just showing their highlights, and there's a lot that goes into success, whatever that means for you. So real money is actually from a place of let's have the real conversations. And I've got really, really, really successful people sharing their highs and lows financially.
I do like the conversations that you have, and we feel like we have them all the time. It's great to be able to have a superstar sitting in that guest seat as a VIP, and that helps with your ego metric of finding more audience members who are attracted to that name. But it's the genuine, real people, the every person on the street. Those are the great conversations to have. Those that have sat in that vehicle and driven around the block and understand the struggle that you went through as a young adult, and then you were able to overcome that problem. So I will make sure that we put a link in the show notes for your podcast as well. Thank you. Anything else that I'm missing, or anything that you want to hit on before we move on?
Life is now. Life is now. Life is here. The only thing we have is right now. Do not let your relationship with money stop you from living the life that you want authentically. There's a lot of shoulds in the finance industry. I don't care what anybody else has to say or anyone else has to think about your life, but get clear on what's important to you and get busy living your life.
I love it. Perfectly said. Well said. And, don't let anybody should all over you, because
That's right.
That's the worst thing. Lisa, thanks for sharing your message and your inspiration. And of course, your story on the Nice Guys on Business today. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Doug.
Hey, Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice. Again, special thanks to Lisa Chastain. All of her information, including access to her quiz, her financial boot camp, and of course, her podcast also right there in the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Fill up your week with the Nice Guys. Haven't they run out of people willing to talk to them yet?